these little newborns with problems. Now let's talk about how we feed these little ones. All right, let's talk about breastfeeding and breast milk, formula and their differences. Then at the very end, we'll talk about how we get kids in need, the formulas that they're missing. All right. Guys in the room, this may get a little more than you want to know, but are all the guys married? Do you all have significant others or spouses? Someday you want to be dads at some point? Right? Okay, cool. So I wish more guys knew, going into having a baby, I wish more guys knew about breastfeeding, because probably a big reason it was super, super hard for me is because my husband didn't know anything about it and wasn't a great support system. So I know this may seem like weird and annoying, but if at some point you want to have a baby and you want them to be breastfed, I hope you can take some information from this. And same for moms. This is stuff that, like, as a clinician, I know all the benefits of breastfeeding, but when it's 3 in the morning and you have a screaming baby in your arms and your boobs hurt and you just don't want to do it anymore, sometimes you need a little motivation from someone saying that you can keep breastfeeding that child. Moms out there, do you feel me? Yeah, okay. All right, so just because breastfeeding is the natural thing, it is so not easy. For some people it may be, that's awesome, it may be great, but breastfeeding is a 2-part adventure. Some babies are born with a great latch, knowing how to suck well. Some babies just can't do it, and my kid just couldn't do it. This is me that has counseled moms on how to nurse and taken classes, and I constantly am reading about new techniques and talk with lactation consultants about how I can help my patients. I knew all of this, and still, anyway, I'll tell you more about my breastfeeding journey, but so it is still the gold standard. It's pretty amazing that our body can grow a human being from 2 little tiny cells into this perfect walking, talking, dancing little person. But it's also pretty amazing that our body can continue to nourish a whole another human being for 1 year to 2 years after we have given birth. I think that's just so cool. Formulas try to mimic breast milk, but they just don't come close. So benefits, it's minimizing any foreign proteins, because all formulas are cow milk based, right? You get maternal protection from illness. You get optimal development outcomes. We know the IQ of breastfed babies tends to be a little higher than formula-fed babies. Promotes an appropriate growth pattern. We'll talk more about that, and links of obesity and formula feeding. It provides multiple hormones and growth factors from mom's body to infant, and that's all just the medical side of it. Then you've got the entire bonding side that's pretty hard to describe in medical terms. All right, here's just a little table. I know it's blurry, but I just want you to see how many components there are in breast milk versus formula, and you'll see there's so many things that we just can't replicate in formula. Even my formula reps up in Tulsa, they're fantastic. My Similac and Enfamil girls, they will flat out say breast is best. But breast isn't for everybody, so that's where formula comes in. All right, child immune benefits from being breastfed. You get that secretory IgA and immunoglobulins from mom, so we're helping boost baby's immune system and protect them from illnesses, help them fight any colds they may catch or illnesses they may catch even before their own immune system is fully functioning. Breast milk has inherent antiviral and antibacterial factors. You probably heard at some point, and if you haven't heard, let me tell you, because you're going to see it. A lot of moms will use breast milk to treat conjunctivitis, pink eye. They'll just squirt it right in baby's eye, which sounds crazy, but there actually is some data behind it that it actually works, because breast milk has inherent antibacterial properties and it helps cure that pink eye. Cellular immune components, again we talked about immune system, cytokines and interleukins, all those enzymes and nucleotides. So all of these things we just can't synthesize in a lab. Breast milk is pretty amazing. So let's look specifically at studies we have on specific conditions that have been reduced because of breastfeeding. And I want you to know, importantly, at the tail end of all these sentences, 3 to 6 months, 3 months versus none, you don't have to breastfeed for 2 years to get these benefits. You just have to do it for a few months. So being able to encourage a mom who is struggling in your clinic, she's sitting there crying, feeling like a failure because she can't breastfeed her baby, you say, hey, any breastfeeding is better than no breastfeeding. Keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. Even just one nursing session a day is better than none. And you still get the reduced risk of otitis media, eczema, GI problems, lower respiratory tract infections are decreased, asthma is decreased, obesity is decreased, type 1 and 2 diabetes are decreased, cancers are decreased, and the big one right now, SIDS. Risk of SIDS decreases with breastfeeding longer than a month. That's nothing. That's nothing. Usually with breastfeeding, it takes about 2 months to really get the swing of things and for your milk levels to kind of level out, and you feel like you kind of know what you're doing. At a month, you're still like bleary-eyed and only sleeping 2 hours at night. But if you can get that mom through a month and reassure her that even a month of breastfeeding will help decrease your baby's risk of SIDS by 1/3, I think that tired brain will hear you and will be like, okay, I can do this. You just got to take it one day at a time. Okay, there's so many maternal benefits to breastfeeding as well. All that prolactin levels, they're going to help decrease postpartum bleeding and involute that uterus more rapidly. You'll get decreased blood loss, so decreased risk of anemia and fatigue, always good in a new mom. Increases child spacing, although I always tell my patients, do not use breastfeeding as your only form of birth control or you will find yourself pregnant very, very fast. Economic benefits, how much do you think a can of formula costs? How much? Yeah, like $30, 25 to $30 for one can. How long does a can last? Like 4 to 5 days. Yeah, so that gets expensive really fast. And babies have to be on formula the first 12 months of their life. Yeah? So there you go, economic benefits. Much cheaper to feed mom the extra calories in her food to make enough milk for baby than it is to be buying. So I'll go back to my story, but it's cheapest to order it on Amazon or Walmart and get big cases of it. But it's still, I mean, some parents can't do that. They don't have $100 or $200 up front to drop on formula. They have to go to the store every 4 days and buy a can. It gets really pricey really fast. It decreases mom's risk of breast and ovarian cancer. Premenopausal breast cancer, it decreases, the statistics range, somewhere between 5 and 25% for each year of breastfeeding. It's incredible. And not to mention the nice little fact that it burns usually an extra 500 to 750 calories a day, depending how much milk you're making. So you basically get to eat whatever you want. You don't gain weight. It's pretty nice. Disadvantages, so as a provider, and if future moms and dads, I want you to remember this because this is where most patients are going to say, nope, I can't do it anymore. So if you can keep these in mind and start to observe things how to get over this, you'll be a great provider for these families. The timing of breastfeeding, do you know how often a newborn feeds? Anybody? No, like every hour. Those little vipers want to stay attached to you all day long. It's exhausting as a mom. Yeah, every hour to hour and a half. And then they go through a growth spurt and they never get off the boob. They're on you constantly for a week. We have this social stigma still in America about breastfeeding. Other countries, women walk around carrying their babies, you know, they might have a cover over. No big deal. Here in America, you sit in a hidden corner in the mall and some old lady is bound to walk up to you and be like, you should really cover that up. It happened to me several times. It is the wildest thing. You better believe I ripped into her. Listen, lady. So it's really common, and there's a whole movement. There's a hashtag normalize breastfeeding. That's what it's about. It's to make breastfeeding the goal in America and get away from our dependence on formula. The initial lack of sleep, I tell you what, have any of you guys been in the Army or been in a situation where you're only getting 1 or 2 hours of sleep a night? Moms out there can tell you. PA school, I mean, yeah. I have to say, I would rather go through PA school again than go through the first month of having a newborn again. That's how rough it is. Your brain does not work well when you're only getting an hour or 2 of sleep. Your memory is shot, you're irritable, you're crying all the time. You are a wreck. So when you're seeing these moms, if they start crying in your office, don't take it personally and don't freak out. Give them a hug, let them cry, help them calm down, and reassure them you are doing everything right. This is the hard part. Do it day at a time, day by day. It gets easier. Every day gets a little bit easier. And breastfeeding makes it even harder. You know, with a formula-fed baby, dad can help, which is great. And when you're a new mom and this baby is entirely depending on you for sustenance, it is stressful. Not to mention, we just have this stigma on moms that everybody's supposed to be a super mom in our culture. Every mom is supposed to be able to manage a full-time job and raise kids and find them the best extracurriculars and get on Pinterest and make good activities. Anyway, it's not true. Get that idea out of your head right now. It's not true. I'm having a good day if I make mac and cheese, get showered, send my kid to school and clean clothes, and see my patients, and don't get in a wreck. That's a good day for me. So get that out of your head right now, because I know at some point you're like wanting to have a family or be involved in something other than practicing medicine. We have this horrible image that we need to shake in this culture. It's terrible. All right, then let's talk about all these moms that do super mom jobs, and they go back to work at 12 weeks, and you're pumping for your kid. Pumping is a whole other ballgame. Pumping, it's tough because people, even husbands, don't understand the physical feeling of needing to pump, even if you're not breastfeeding. People can understand. You've got a crying, screaming baby, yeah, you got to feed the baby. If you're at work and you are just super uncomfortable, your breasts are full, you've got to go pump, people don't care. They don't understand. Now, thankfully, I'm in peds, so all of my moms are like, oh, girl, go take a break, go pump. But my staff, they were like, oh, you're pumping again. But it's this really odd sensation. It's when you have to go pee, you have to go pee so bad, you have to do it right then. It's like that, but it's in your breast. It's terrible. It's awful. So keep that in mind. If you have a coworker that is nursing or pumping, please remember to talk and support them and say, hey, yeah, I'll take that patient for you. You go pump. Because it only takes 10 or 15 minutes. But it's just hard, especially in our jobs as providers, it's hard to say, okay, I've got to stop seeing patients, I'll be right back. It's super, super tough to do, especially if you're in a hospital field. But thankfully, we've gotten better about providing laws, and we have to provide breaks and spaces for nursing moms. So there's all kinds of stuff you'll learn about as you become moms and go into practice. Breastfeeding can cause sexual dysfunction, suppresses that estrogen, progesterone, your prolactin levels high, tanks your sexual drive, not to mention the nipple pain. So let's talk about this because this is going to help you be a better provider. The first 2 weeks of breastfeeding, it's very normal to have tender breasts, tender nipples. Past that, or if it's severe, you're probably looking at a latch problem, or if it's really severe, you're probably looking at mom has candidiasis of the nipples. Okay, remember that. It's normal to feel a pulling, tugging sensation when baby latches on. If they tell you, I'm feeling razor blades when baby latches on, and it's lasting longer than, it really should only last 10 or 15 seconds. If it's lasting longer than that, something abnormal is going on. That baby's not latching right, there's something not right. Get them to lactation right away. If we can nip that in the bud, the incidence of mom continuing to breastfeed is going to be so much better. But no woman is going to voluntarily put a baby on their breast that hurts every hour and a half. Right? Makes sense? No one was going to subject themselves to torture that often. All right, so let's talk about clogged ducts and mastitis. This is a super weird deal, and I promise you, if you are going into OB, family med, any of those, you're going to see this at some point. You need to identify it. I've caught it in moms in my practice 5 or 6 times that they didn't even know what was going on. Mastitis is usually Staph aureus, and it makes sense. You have a baby with saliva latching onto a breast with, breast ducts and milk ducts. If that bacteria manages to wiggle its way into the ducts, it's going to cause an infection. It really likes to cause infection in clogged ducts. I bet you guys haven't had to think about that before. If baby is not latching really well, or if mom isn't varying the position in which baby latches, we think about your breast anatomy. You've got all those little milk ducts that the little globules connect and they form ducts. So if baby's not draining every single duct, that duct just keeps filling and filling and filling with milk, and it can get a little clog in it. So heat can relieve that. Advise mom to do hot compresses, and I'm talking hot, not lukewarm, hot. Or get in a hot shower and use the hot water and do some massage on the area. Yes, it's tender and painful, but that will help prevent mastitis. Mastitis will hit you like a freaking freight train. Like in my case, when I had it at 6 weeks, you wake up at 2 in the morning and you feel like you have the flu. my first thought was, oh my gosh, I have a pounding headache, I could tell I was febrile, and I had an aching back and joints and body, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have the flu. And immediately I started thinking, I can't be around the baby, I'm going to have to call my mom, I'm going to have to go to a hotel room, how am I going to feed this baby? And then I went, I have a baby, mastitis. That's exactly what it feels like. I feel like I have the flu. And I had a clogged duct for a day or two before and was working on getting it out, and that's all it takes. That mastitis hits you so fast. So if you have a mom come into your practice and she's sitting there and she looks terrible and she's slightly diaphoretic and she's sweaty, ask her, what's going on? You feeling okay? I also caught a mom who ended up having a PE that had been undiagnosed by her OB because she was sitting there going, I was like, well, that's not normal. A lot of medicine is your gut telling you, oh, that's not normal. Okay, so if you see a mom sitting there in pain and she's hunched over and you can tell she's trying to keep her clothing from touching her breasts because they hurt so bad, ask her, do you have any little very painful marble feeling things in your breasts right now? Have you had a fever? Are you feeling like you have a headache? Was your back aching? And she'll say, yeah, how'd you know? And moms that aren't clinicians, that don't have the privilege of knowing all of this background information, they're going to think, oh, I got a virus, I have the flu. No, it's mastitis. They need to be on antibiotics right away. Kill that bacteria. All right, and then weaning a kid is like terrible. Terrible, terrible. Okay, so let me finish up with my nursing story so that you kind of see a varied picture. Everybody thinks, oh, breastfeeding, babies are going to latch right when they come out of the womb, it's going to be great, everything's going to be great. No, that's like 10% of cases, is it great? My case, my kid had tongue tie, upper lip tie, super high palate. I was worried, I was like, oh my gosh, does she have a cleft palate? No, it's just really high. And I had an overproduction of milk, so every time she latched on, she would pull off because I had a high letdown, and poor thing couldn't take it all. She's tiny. So I went to lactation, and when you send your patients to a lactation appointment, this is not a 15-minute appointment that you go see. No, no, no. You go in your pajamas, you take the baby and all the gear you're going to need for 3 to 4 hours. You stay with lactation and work with them 3 to 4 separate feeds. And you stay there half a day. I went 3 separate times to lactation, convinced I could do this. I knew, I can overcome this. I was having to use a nipple shield. Her latch sucked, so I was having to nurse after the nipple shield. So I was basically either nursing a kid or stuck on a pump for 80% of my day. And it was terrible. It sucked. She just didn't get it. Finally, she was 8 weeks old. It was still awful at night, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I want to enjoy my kid. I don't want to resent her. I was also experiencing some postpartum depression that I would not realize until much later on. And so I ended up exclusively pumping, which is like the worst of both worlds. You have to wash bottles, you have to wash pump parts, and you don't get to nurse your baby, you don't get the attachment. So I stuck with it though. I pumped and I made it work at my clinic. I scheduled breaks. I had a pump in my office, closed the door. Everybody knew when that door was closed, they were not to bug me. And I pumped for 7 months straight. So 5 times a day I was going in and hooking up to this awful pump for 15 minutes and storing milk and getting it to my kid. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. I sure wish that she could have been a good nurser, but she wasn't. And there was just nothing I could do about it. I did everything I could, and it just wasn't worth it. So, and that's what worked for our family. And I want you to remember that story, to remember a fed baby is a growing baby, no matter what way that happens. A mom feeding their kid, no matter what, is what your goal is. Okay, so when you've got a mom, and there is this whole new group, we are feeling pressure as moms you've got to breastfeed your kid, and you feel like a failure. If like that's your only job as a mom, all the good stuff comes later. You get to teach them how to ride a bike and read and all that fun stuff. But as a new mom, you feel like that's your only job, and if you're not doing it, it can feel awful. You feel like a failure. So, I've had a rough week, so I'm tearing up talking about it, but. So reassure your moms, you're doing everything right. Sometimes babies are just stupid nursers. That's just all there is to it. And reassure them that a fed baby is a happy baby. And yeah, if you just can get a little bit of breast milk in them once a day, that's better than nothing. That's great. That's great. But for those who can't, or if they maybe have galactosemia or some other crazy problem, we have formulas. And formulas have come a long way. I'll say this about formula. You get what you pay for. When you have parents that are like, oh, they're on the off name, no. I tell them, this formula that your baby is eating is literally building their brain and their bones. Do you want to give them the best nutrition, or do you want to settle for the one that was $5 cheaper? Usually after hearing that, they are like, okay. I really like Similac and Enfamil products. They have so much science behind their products, and they have so many additives that we know help baby's brain development. I want you to look at this list mainly to see kind of the categories of formula that we're going to talk about, but also to see how many there are. If you guys walk down the formula aisle at Walmart, it's a whole aisle, and it's like 4 stories high. So you, as a provider, it's going to be your job to talk to that mom about what formula to get for their baby. Otherwise, they're not going to know. Heck, I go, and when I stopped pumping, Mira was like 7 or 8 months old. And so I was like, well, crap, now I gotta do formula. So I went to the store aisle, me, the pediatrician, stood there and had a slight panic attack. What am I gonna buy for my kid? So imagine normal parents who have had no experience, they just grab the one that they like the color the most, typically. And the packaging is real pretty, shiny, multicolored. They grab the one that looks the best. You gotta have a talk with them about that. All right, so let's jump in and talk about what formula is. So they are all cow milk based, other than soy formulas. They alter them by taking out the butter fat and replacing it with vegetable oils and carbs to replace that butter fat instead. They cut down the amount of protein, and then they're going to put in a bunch of vitamins and minerals, iron, amino acids, fatty acids, nucleotides, things to help that baby grow. They're trying to mimic breast milk. Remember that whole chart we saw of all the ingredients in breast milk? They're trying to mimic that. So the protein, the whey to casein ratio varies by formula. The major whey protein is beta-lactoglobulin. The major casein protein is bovine, alpha-casein, okay, cow. Amino acid profile is going to vary by brand and by formula. And some of them add taurine and carnitine to help with brain development. All right, let's compare breast milk versus all the other formulas. Same calorie content, they make sure that it's very similar to that in breast milk, otherwise we don't want to have these gargantuan babies running around if they were getting 30 calories an ounce. Breast milk has human milk fat. Enfamil, Similac, they use soy, coconut oil, sunflower oil, palm oil. And then they both contain lactose, different molecular structure though, one's human, one's bovine. Whey to casein ratio in breast milk is 70-30, and formula is 60-40. A little bit different protein content too. Look at that iron difference. Breast milk is pretty low in iron. That's why we want moms to continue taking their prenatal with iron while they're breastfeeding, because we want them to supplement and not get anemic. And we put 12 milligrams in there for babies in formula. Same with vitamin D. Breast milk is very low in vitamin D, which we know has implications in bone strength and immune system function. So we jack up vitamin D like crazy in the formula. Breastfed babies should take a daily vitamin D supplement, just for future. Osmolarity is about the same, and I throw that in there because I have so many parents of babies on formula say, when can I give them water? When do they need water? Aren't they thirsty? And I'm like, no, they're drinking milk. Milk is water-based. They don't need any water. So yeah, no water until babies are like 9 months old or older. Breast milk does contain DHA and amino acids. We have to add that into formula. There are still some formulas that don't include that, but they're pretty few and far between. Okay, let's talk about supplementing. Supplementation formulas are fairly new. The past probably 4 to 5 years they've come out. And these are geared at moms who are breastfeeding but feel like they're either not making enough, or they've been advised to supplement, like if the baby has jaundice, or if they're not gaining weight appropriately, if mom's milk. Very, very rarely is it ever a mom production problem. Like when a mom is like, I just don't feel like I'm making enough. That's super, super rare. Most of the time her body is capable of making enough. She probably just needs to nurse more frequently, but that's a whole other lecture. Okay, so Similac makes their green label. This is the other thing with parents. They don't remember the name of their formula, they remember what color it is. Okay, so when they come and say, well, I don't know, I think it's Gerber and I think it's orange, you guys need to have a list taped into your cabinet or something that you can say, which one is it? Show me. Or after you've been doing it as long as I have, you just know what color they all are. So Similac supplementation is green. They include their special blend that they call it OptiGrow that is extra DHA, lutein, and vitamin E. These are found in breast milk, so they're trying really hard to get as close to breast milk as possible. They add extra calcium. They don't use palm oil. I like that a lot. And there's more prebiotics to promote digestive health. Probably you'll hear more at some point. Breastfeeding, you get a lot of that good gut flora established from breastfeeding, from mom's skin flora, right? And in formula, you're not getting that. So prebiotics are saccharides that are going to help promote bacterial development. So we actually want their little guts to get colonized with good bacteria. So that it can be sneaky. I wish they had called something different than prebiotics, because parents all think prebiotics and probiotics are the exact same thing, so get those straight in your head. Enfamil, they changed their protein to carb ratio a little bit in the supplementation. They do add a little extra sodium, calcium, and phosphorus, trying to be more like breast milk. They put higher vitamin D content than their regular Enfamil infant, that's their yellow one, but it's the same as their Enfamil newborn, which is their light blue one. Lower lactose, so a little bit easier on baby's tummy, so that's always nice. And as it is for most formulas, most carbohydrates are going to come from corn syrup. That's like my least favorite thing about formulas. We've got more and more research out, especially high fructose corn syrup, which that's not used, but regular corn syrups are used as the carb source and as a sweetener for most formulas. Some Similac formulas actually put straight cane sugar in it as a sweetener. But formula tastes totally different than breast milk. Breast milk is a pretty sweet tasting substance. Formula is nasty. It smells like vitamins. No baby likes it. If they've been on breast milk and you're trying to get them onto formula and the parents are coming in, they won't take their formula. Well, it's because it tastes totally different. If you've only eaten one thing your entire life that tasted great, you're not going to switch it for some nasty, like, elemental tasting milk. It's totally different. Gerber's gotten on board. They're making their own supplementation formula now too, and it actually has probiotics in it, which I think is pretty cool. I think Similac could stand to do that. All right, let's talk about those babies that come in and the mom says they just whine all the time, they toot all the time. First, I always reassure parents, look, babies are supposed to toot a lot. They drink a liquid diet. If you're sucking on something all day long, you're going to pass a lot of gas, so reassure them that. Now, babies that are passing gas that are crying right before they pass the gas, that's a little too much gas. So we might switch them to a reduced lactose formula like Enfamil Gently, Similac Sensitive, or Gerber Soothe. They partially break down the proteins. They hydrolyze them a little bit so it's gentler on baby's tummy. And they only have about 1/4 of lactose in them. So remember when we were talking about galactosemia and I said these formulas are not for babies with galactosemia because they still have a little bit of lactose in them. Weight to casein ratio is 60-40 and they always add DHA and ARA in there. All right, other sensitive tummy. These are a couple of products that have come out in the past few years. Enfamil Reguline has 2 different kinds of prebiotics to help promote gut health. These are for babies that tend to get really constipated. We want to promote that good gut flora, and it's also reduced lactose and partially hydrolyzed protein. So if you have a baby that mom's like, oh, they're just constantly passing these little rabbit pellets, try switching them to Reguline, see how they do. Total Comfort, it's a very different formula compared to the rest of their Similac line. There's no corn syrup in it. They use maltodextrin, and my kid that ended up having a corn sensitivity, she did a lot better on this one than all the other Similac line. Got the prebiotics, reduced lactose, and partially hydrolyzed protein. And I didn't throw the thing in there that it's maltodextrin, but instead of corn syrup as being ingredient number 3, it's maltodextrin, which is still a corn-based product that's a little bit different structurally. All right, then you got the kooky babies. These babies come in, the parent is saying, oh, I'm doing laundry every day, I have to change her 5 times a day, she's puking on everything. Her grandparents don't want to hold her because she's puking on everything. Okay, so let's figure out. If it's a breastfed baby, try having mom cut back on her dairy intake. A lot of times that helps. But if it's a formula-fed baby, we can put them on an Enfamil AR or Spit Up Similac. These do not have rice cereal in them. A lot of parents ask, can I just have rice cereal to their bottle? Not really. This is different. This adds rice starch that is specifically meant to combine with gastric acid and thicken in the stomach. If you're giving baby rice cereal mixed in the formula, it's going to be thick drinking it down, which if you've got a baby that has some feeding problems, that is an option later down the line. But for just reflux babies, you don't want that stuff to get thick until it hits the tummy. So I hear that this is also a common board or test type question. Rice starch. So, and then it can reduce reflux symptoms. We also talk about baby Zantac for babies that have a lot of reflux. All right, let's move on to the soy formulas. So these are not milk-based. So if you've got a kid with severe milk protein allergy, like an IgE-mediated allergy, severely lactose intolerant, galactosemia, or the parents are vegetarian and they want no milk products for their baby, soy is an option. Not appropriate for the little tinies because of the risk of osteopenia and growth concerns. Also not appropriate for this very rare condition called hereditary fructose intolerance because it contains sucrose. The nutrition of it, 20 calories per ounce. They use palm oil, soy, coconut, sunflower oils. They do use corn syrup and sucrose as the carbohydrate source and sweetener. The protein in it is soy isolate protein, 17 grams, pretty similar to the other formulas. They put that iron and the vitamin D in there. They add DHA and AA. I forgot to throw it in there too. Most of these add extra calcium. A lot, so that's why we don't indicate soy for preterm infants, is because the soy proteins, you don't absorb that calcium quite as well. So a lot of kids on, they've been on soy their entire life, they can have some osteopenia issues because they're not absorbing the calcium. All right, here's my spiel about soy. I have so many parents come in and be like, well, they were gassy, so I put on soy. And I'm like, no, I don't know. Okay, so 60% of infants with a cow milk protein allergy with enterocolitis, and these are the babies, I've only seen this twice in practice, these are the babies that come in and are like pooping blood because they have such a bad allergy to cow milk protein. Okay, got that? Okay, 60% of those kids will also have a soy allergy. Well crap, now we're back to square one. Where are we going to feed these kids? So because of the phytates and fiber oligosaccharides, it inhibits the absorption of minerals, which is what we talked about. The calcium doesn't get absorbed super well. So there you go. They put extra calcium in there. So you see higher levels of osteopenia in preterm infants given soy. And we have, slight documentation that phytoestrogens can mimic hormone levels, which, especially in a little boy, and really even in a little girl baby, you don't want them getting exposed to too many estrogens. I've never seen, any little babies start to grow breasts or anything strange like that because they're on soy formula, but kind of have to think about that. There's also slightly higher aluminum levels because of the production of the soy. All right, so these are my better, I like these better for kids with severe allergies rather than soy formula. Alimentum and Nutramigen, talk about expensive. These are like 36 bucks a can. They go through them in 3 to 4 days. These are super hydrolyzed protein. And when I say hydrolyzed, you've got that little picture on your right there. Protein formula, protein hydrolyzed formula, like there was a slide we talked about with the Reguline and the Total Comfort, they're slightly hydrolyzed. This is protein broken down into elemental form, and that's what we're talking about here. These proteins are chopped up super, super tiny, so the baby doesn't have to do much digestion at all. They have all different kinds of fat blends, so if a baby does not do well on one brand, it is a good idea to switch them to the other because the composition of them are very different. They all are completely lactose-free, so a baby with galactosemia, this could be an option for them. The Similac version of it, the Alimentum, they've hydrolyzed that casein and they've got 3 amino acids. They add the DHA and ARA, and it's completely lactose-free. It does contain sucrose, so that crazy, the one I was talking about a slide ago about familial hereditary fructose intolerance, they cannot do Similac, but they could do Nutramigen, because Nutramigen is lactose and sucrose-free. These are both, thankfully I don't have to put too many babies on them. Most babies do fine if you switch them to like Genelease or one of the lactose-reduced. But I have a few babies that they just do not grow well. They spit up all the time, their stools pass really fast. A couple of them have had bloody stools from severe allergy. These are my go-to. All right, super elemental. If your baby with severe allergies does not do great on a lot of moms, let me show you why. The Nutramigen, it's a gold lid and it's a gold label, so a lot of moms call it liquid gold. If they don't do so well on the liquid gold, we can switch them to a medical formula. Elecare and Neocate, these are like 70 bucks a can. Yeah, insanely expensive. So So thankfully, I've only had to ever do one, and I got Senior Care to pay for it, and the pharmacy had to order this for the parents. Really, really pricey. Protein maldigestion or malabsorption syndromes like short bowel. Maybe you'll occasionally see a baby with short bowel syndrome, and they maybe need some medical formula. Multiple severe food allergies might be indicated to try one of these. Eosinophilic esophagitis or gastroenteritis, maybe in an older baby that they've detected this. GI has done biopsies and they've found it. This might be an appropriate formula. Lactose, sucrose, fructose, and galactose-free. So for somebody with galactosemia, this is really the recommended food for those babies. But some families just can't do it, so keep in mind that Nutramigen might be an option too. Neocate, that's Abbott's version of it. Again, they use totally different oils in both formulas, and this one uses corn syrup solid, so that makes it lactose and sucrose free. 100% free amino acids. It's a pretty amazing formula. I mean, when you think about the process of how we make medicine, they have to go through that same kind of process to make a formula this perfect, but they're mass producing it. I mean, gosh, can you think about a can? That production just amazes me. Go into the technology behind drugs. There you go. Really high vitamin D levels too in these. Okay, then we've got our special little population of our itty bitties that need some extra calories. So for instance, if a baby's born at 35 weeks, we want mom to try and breastfeed as much as possible, but sometimes it doesn't work out. We've got to do some formula. And this is what we recommend. So Similac, this is their yellow can called NeoSure. Gerber has started making one called Nourish that is also 22 calories per ounce. And Enfamil's version is Infacare. So do you guys remember what was the calorie content on the other formulas? Yeah, so this is only a couple calories more, but it makes a huge difference. Huge difference. Higher levels of protein, calcium, phosphorus, and medium chain triglycerides. That's what that MCT stands for. And they are still cow milk based though. So if you've got a baby that maybe has short gut syndrome and is a preemie, you might have to do a little finagling with the Nutramigen. Have them, all cans of formula come with a plastic scoop in them, and you are supposed to scoop and use a knife to level, and that is an exact 1 scoop of formula. Most parents don't do that. They scoop it and do a heaping scoop. So if your baby's gaining too much weight, you might ask, tell me exactly how you prepare your baby's bottles, because sometimes they'll be like, oh, I just scoop, and it's a big heaping scoop. Well, that's basically more like the type of calorie content you're going to see from one of these formulas. So you're like, okay, we need to back off that formula a little bit. But that also is kind of a trick that if we have a baby that's not gaining weight enough and their appetite just isn't good, I mean, a baby's tummy is only so big, you can only squeeze a few ounces in there. So if you need to increase their calories, and if you go into peds, that may be something you have to do. You start telling the parent to do like a scoop and a quarter every bottle. So anyway, just if you ever hear about that, that's what we're trying to do, is increase the calories. All right, let's talk about GMO. So a ton of formulas now are labeling as non-GMO, and if they're truly non-GMO or not, I don't think so, because a lot of the mechanisms that we produce those vitamins, like some of the vitamins we use algae or seaweed to produce, and the seaweed itself is not non-GMO, so I don't know if they can really truly call it that, whatever. And then they charge more for it. And then as, clinical professionals, we know there's no scientific data backing this non-GMO theory that GMOs have any type of harm on our development or growth. So if moms ask you about it, you can say, if you want to spend the extra money, fine, but you probably don't need to. It's not going to affect your kid long term. Now, there are some formulas that are labeled as organic, and Target carries a few of these, but most of these, like Sprouts has a few, and online you can buy a few that are labeled organic. And the AAP stands on organic foods. There's no direct evidence consuming an organic diet is to improve health or lower risk of disease, but there are some theories out there about the use of pesticides, anyway, to produce. So I think probably over the next 20 years we'll get more data about organic formulas, and I think it'll probably head that way. But right now it's not recommended by the AAP. Okay, coming soon, Enfamil Inspire. This is a new product that it's coming in February. So when you guys get out there, it will probably be something that's highly recommended. They add in the MFGM, the maternal milk fat globule membrane, and that is the closest we've ever gotten to breast milk. So my infant rep was just in the other day, and she's super excited about it. Improved cognitive development, IQ scores in the past few years as they've been developing. The kids' IQ scores are matching that of breastfed babies, so be on the lookout for Inspire. It probably will become the new standard. Similac will have to catch up. Okay, we've got a few minutes. Let's talk about what formula to use. So say you've got a kid coming in and mom says, they have bloody diarrhea, I don't know what's going on. Oh yeah, I was severely allergic to milk as a kid. What formula would you recommend her start?
Soy.
Yeah, you can try soy. What other thing would you try?
This one.
Yeah, Nutramigen would be a great option for this baby. Remember what we said? Mom is like, oh yeah, I was allergic to milk as a kid. How many percentage of kids are going to have a soy allergy as well as a milk allergy? Yeah, so don't even bother with the soy. I know that is kind of the mentality. Oh, well, if they can't do milk, do soy. But as a clinician, remember that prevalence of soy allergy in addition, okay? And yeah, it stinks they have to buy the expensive stuff, but that baby will do so much better so fast. Okay, so now let's say you've got a mom coming in, baby's weight gain isn't quite as good as you like, and the mom says the baby's very gassy, very fussy, and has a lot of reflux. And their stools are kind of stinky, and they poop every time they have a bottle. What would you think of for this baby? Okay, I heard Gentilese. That's a good option. What else? Anybody else? Nope, everybody agrees. Gentilese? Okay, yeah, Gentilese would be a great place to start. Breaks down the proteins a little bit, break down that lactose. I was expecting some people to say because of the reflux that we would try the AR or the spit-up formula, but my throw-in there also that they're having frequent poops and they're really fussy and gassy. The AR formulas actually don't reduce the lactose very much. So instead of that AR, I would recommend trying one of the lactose-reduced. The other options might be Similac Total Comfort. Remember that lavender one we talked about? Or the Enfamil Reguline, the peach-colored formula. That one has reduced lactose and hydrolyzed protein and the prebiotics. So that actually might help support baby's gut health too. Okay, so now what formulas could you consider for a kid with galactosemia?
The gold one.
L-Care is gold standard. Good. Okay, what if a parent says, I can't afford this? What else would you consider? Yeah, Nutramigen or Alimentum. Perfect. If it really came down to it, soy. Try soy formula. That's lactose-free too. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions about formulas? That was kind of like the really quick, down and dirty formula. No? We good? Cool. Okay, friends. Well, let's, oh, you know what? One more slide. I want you to know, here in Oklahoma, the WIC program is fantastic to help parents get formula they need. As a provider, it can be a little bit frustrating because as of right now, WIC has their contract with Gerber. Gerber products are good. I don't love them. They don't put quite as many ingredients as Similac or Enfamil. Coming up next year, the contract is up for renewal, so we'll see. By the time you guys get in practice, it could be Similac or Enfamil. But also note, we also have tribal WIC offices here in Oklahoma, and Osage Nation and Cherokee Nation are really good about carrying all three brands. So know that there are options out there. If your parents are struggling, they need, I don't know, Gentilese. My baby only does great on the Enfamil Gentilese. There are options out there. Your reps, your Enfamil and Similac reps are huge helpers. And if you go into peds, they will come around, you'll get to know them. They are fantastic. And they can get cases delivered to the parent, they can help them out, they can help find a WIC office that'll hook them up with what they need. All right, and then I love something Abbott does for Similac. They have a multiples program, so parents who come home with twins or triplets, they can get signed up to be a part of this program, and they get free formula for the first year. So it's pretty awesome. All right, there's products that WIC will carry in Oklahoma. Nutramigen and Inficare, so there you go, there's your Pure Amino, that's one of those super medical grade formulas. Progestamil, that's also a medical grade formula for babies with super specific metabolic conditions. Inficare for preemies, and Nutrigen for super allergic kiddos. So despite those not being Gerber, every WIC office in Oklahoma carries those formulas. Yeah? Cool. All right. Well, so let's go take a break and have lunch, and then we get to spend the afternoon together.